Okay, so today we're going to be looking at Bas Relief texture tiles. There's a few little pieces of information you need to know about vocabulary. Now, sculpture, as we know, is three-dimensional art that can be viewed from many angles. Now, we are going to be looking at tiles, and you can do this from tiles as well. Bas Relief is a little bit different than normal sculpture. It's flat, yes, but it does have a three-dimensional quality. So it's sculpture in which shapes are carved into the actual medium so that they are slightly higher than the flat background. So when you carve down, other things pop up. Now ceramics, they are pretty much pots, plates, and other things that are made by clay and harden. And then we have slabs, which we're going to work with, which is a flat, thick piece of clay. Now, Bas Relief sculpture has been around from ancient times. Now the two examples here is the one on the center right here is from Egyptian time. The one all the way on the right is from Roman times. Artists would carve into the actual stone or clay that they would have and expose their images. Now modern day artists, now as you can see right on the bottom, they're a little bit different. Their designs are different. They do similar techniques for their carving, but some of the instruments that they use are a little bit more modernized. Now the clay that we're using is called a medium. Clay is created from decomposed sedimentary rock, and when it's heated, it hardens. Now we're going to be using air-dried clay. Normal clay would need a kiln, and I do not have a kiln in order to dry it. So with air-dried clay, we're going to need it to dry by itself for a few days. So you only have a few days to work on this project. Honestly, you don't need a lot of times because it would go quickly. But if you are missing one of the days, you might need to come in during lunch to kind of work on this. Now, clay has three properties: plasticity, which is the ability to change shape without breaking. Now we can do this when it's wet. Moisture, all clay has water. Wet clay is easier to work with, and there's times when it's going to start drying that we might need to put some water on our hands to just moisten the clay a little bit. Now, shrinkage. This is one thing that happens and we have to watch. Since as the clay dries, it's shrinking, and it's possibly that it could crack. Okay, now if it's too thin in spots, your tile will crack. Now to avoid this, what we're going to do is we're going to try to make sure that our slab of clay is no thinner than ½ inch thick. Now we will need to possibly measure this, but we're going to kind of watch it. Now we're creating a Bas Relief tile. Other things that I would like to do with this is add texture. Okay, now texture is an art element that describes the way things feel. Texture can be created by making impressions or carvings into the clay with various tools. Okay, now texture provides the viewer with visual designs as well as giving a different feel. Now, as you can tell with the ones in the picture, it doesn't look like texture. It looks like just patterns and designs. Well, yes, patterns and designs create different kind of textures. Examples are rough, smooth, bumpy, bubbly. Now these all describe what we're seeing in the picture. And the tools that you're going to use, we're going to use traditional tools and a little bit of non-traditional tools in order to get our textures. Now traditional tools are loop tools, which are carvers, pin tools, knives, modeling tools, metal scrapers, and sponges. Now I will show you these when we go over the clay part tomorrow. Now, some found objects. This is basically anything we can find that has a design already on it that we can press into the clay. So for example, a shell would have that bumpy ridge we can press into the clay. Bolts, decorative doorknobs, and all that stuff. Now our challenge, okay, is going to be something similar to the pictures that you see right here. You're going to create a Bas Relief tile using about 5 to 7 different textures to create a recognizable image. Does not matter what kind of image, I want an image, okay? Now, second thing that you need to worry about is you need to use traditional and non-traditional or found objects to create your tiles and your textures. Okay, and your tiles should not exceed 5 by 5 inches and can't get thinner than ½ an inch, so we're going to need to watch that. Now, as you can tell, the designs here, there's a recognizable image. It does not need to be realistic, okay? It can be a little bit more abstract, but there's definitely a background kind of with it. All these different textures make up the image that we see. Also, things are carved down to help pop up some of these images. Now here's a few more examples if you're kind of stuck with an idea. My suggestion is when you work on that paper, just look at it and come up with an image and then kind of map out some of the spots that you can use some textures, and also point out and label the areas that you're going to carve down for your project as well.